So Thailand's tourism industry is a major pillar of its economy, but there has finally been a decline in the visitor numbers, with international arrivals falling in 2025, marking the first yearly drop since the pandemic era, which is about 7% less than 2024, and all of that data has been making waves in the headlines out here. So the main headlines that you see are talking about the dangers of the scam networks that have expanded over Southeast Asia. But the truth is a bit more than just that. Because during the peak season it was business as normal. Hotels weren't empty, the airport was still as busy as ever, and the tourist hotspots still had all your usual backpackers floating around. But once arrivals data is separated by country of origin, then you can see nearly the entire reason for Thailand's tourism decline. Because after the pandemic, it was expected that the Chinese tourist market would go back up to the numbers we had seen before. And in 2023 and 2024, it did start this climb back up, but because of a few reasons actually, it has still yet to fully recover, and now after 2025 numbers have come out, they didn't set higher arrival numbers. In fact, the trend has turned around and is now pointing back down. The biggest narrative you will see pushed follows the Chinese actor who had been lured to Thailand with a job offer, but then he was trafficked into Myanmar. This narrative is being pushed heavily towards the Chinese people, and looking at the numbers since that story broke out, it seems to have had effect. People are now not going to Thailand for safety reasons, because they don't want this happening to them. And while that clearly had an effect, it's not the full story. Because previously, before the pandemic, the reason the boom in the Chinese tourists had to do with the Chinese tourism package, which if you're not aware what that is and you haven't heard of it before, let me explain. It's also known as the Zero Bat package or just the Chinese tourism package. These are travel deals marketed in China at extremely low prices, sometimes appearing so cheap that customers feel FOMO because it's pretty much a free package holiday deal, including flights, hotel, meals, and sightseeing. Who wouldn't want that? But here's the catch. The business model relied on offsetting the near zero upfront cost by arranging mandatory shopping trips, high commission restaurants, or paid activities for the travellers while in Thailand. The guides or the operators made money from commissions on these purchases rather than the tour price itself. And in some cases, tourists are pressured to spend large sums in pre-arranged shops, and also most of the shops and businesses that are visited are Chinese owned and not the local businesses anyway. But the problems that come with these kind of packages are they're damaging to Thailand's tourism reputation, as visitors often report poor experiences or feel a bit misled by the ultra-cheap promises. They're also economically inefficient for Thailand, since much of the tourist spending was funneled back to the operators and the pre-designed shops, instead of the local businesses or the broader economy. Plus, the amount of money that each Chinese tourist spends when on these package deals is very small compared to if they do it individually and come on their own. And also, they're problematic for legit Thai tour providers, who can't compete with the prices because they actually have to pay the real cost of service, transport or accommodation. And because the issues that these packages cause, coupled with the fact that since the pandemic, the age of the Chinese travellers is below 35, and the younger generation travelling habits are very different from the previous generation. Previous group package deals was the way to travel, but now younger tourists are planning themselves digitally, removing the middleman and the extra cost by just building their own itinerary of the things they actually want to do and see. And looking at the numbers, the percentage of Chinese visitors that are using one of these Chinese tourism packages has dropped by more than 85% than compared to the pre-pandemic tourist numbers. And while Thailand isn't the only country affected by this in the recent years, the other countries that have had these packages didn't adopt them quite as much as the Thai market, and that's why their numbers aren't changing quite as much as Thailand. So with the new tourism industry shifting more towards independent travellers who plan their own trips digitally, the old ways of tourism will continue to fade, and the Chinese tourism package deal seems to be one of them. And while the overall narrative often highlights the downturns, other official figures suggest a complex picture. I mean, Thailand still welcomed millions of tourists already in early 2026, bringing significant revenue within a year-on-year decline, which helps. The government has set targets for strong growth in 2026, aiming to boost arrivals and tourism. So the situation is better described as a slowdown and structural adjustment rather than an outright disappearance of tourism, with a rare decline in the international arrivals in 2025, as well as ongoing air travels and geopolitical disruptions so far in this year that are affecting routes and confidence, as well as shifting market dynamics with regional competition and changes in the traveller types. And with all that being described as a crisis, it's not a complete collapse. Millions still arrive every year, authorities are actively mitigating impacts, and new strategies are being designed to aim to reshape tourism for the future. And also quickly, I think it's important to say that Thailand absorbed a lot of the tourism that was flooding into Southeast Asia before the pandemic because it was cheap, modernised, easy to travel, and extremely popular. But now other countries like Vietnam, Malaysia and Cambodia are getting more love from the tourists. Now they've caught up and can offer a holiday experience similar or even better to Thailand for whatever the reason is, whether it's cheaper, safer, whatever the tourist reasons are. So yeah, don't think that Thailand is empty and all the beaches are waiting for you to take a picture with nobody else around. Just think again. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys know a little bit more about why you're seeing the headlines talking about the Thailand tourism crash or crisis. And if you're thinking of moving to Thailand yourself, then check out my Move to Thailand guide linked in the description below. But that's it for today, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.